Let's start there because I know this is
Yeah.
like a big conversation.
It's a big question. And I think that the next 5 to 10 years is going to get weird.
Ooh,
So that's what I would say. I think it's going to be weird. And the rate of change is going to be like breakneck speed. So if you want to follow, if you want to educate yourself, I would actually get on Twitter. So Twitter is a lot of where I see like the latest and most breaking news on AI.
mhm.
It doesn't get covered in the mainstream media as much, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. It
But
goes so fast, I think,
it goes so fast,
Yeah.
and some of it goes over people's heads, right? So I think
Mhm.
that for the meetings industry specifically, I think that AI over the course of the next 18 months, you're going to need to know how to use these tools. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
I agree.
So,
Mhm.
for example, I just got access to Google's Bard. So the famous one that everyone knows is Chat GPT-4. People
Mhm.
use that, and it has 100 million users plus. And
Mhm.
it's good for meetings and events, but it's not connected to the internet for everybody. Google already has a wealth of travel data. So
Mhm.
I ran something this morning where I acted like a meeting planner, and I said, I'm a meeting planner. I'm hosting an event for 500 people, and I'm looking at New York versus Orlando. I
Mhm.
want you to list me out 3 premium properties
Mhm.
that have over 1,000 rooms and over 50,000 square feet of meeting space. And I would like you to give me the average room rate night for the month of October and present me all of this data in a table.
Yes.
So in
Wow.
30 seconds is what it took me to write that. And then in 20 seconds, it gave me the response. And
And it was
that
accurate. The
it was
accuracy of it was.
so here is what I would say.
Mhm.
I've done this with airfare too, and we're actually incorporating Bard and Chat GPT-4 into. We have a tool called Forecast where you can budget your airfare for your meeting and event, and you do have to double check data.
Mhm.
So there's some stuff that you do have to review, and you cannot run that request
Mhm.
and you cannot send that data to the client without thinking about it and
Mhm.
putting your own professional eyes on it. Because there are times where you have to ask, hey, where did you get that data from? So sometimes you actually have to have that conversation with the AI of saying, where did you pull that rate from? And it will tell you where it pulled it from. So anything with the AI that doesn't pass muster, you have to dig into. So
Yeah.
what I would say is that AI, number one, it's going to give people superpowers. It's going to speed people up like crazy. Number
Mhm.
two, it's going to make people more critical thinkers and better reasoners, because you don't want to shoot that to a client and then the client get an RFP back and it was wildly off base.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a very good starting point, and I think it'll put pressure on tools to be more accurate, because people are going to use Bard and Chat GPT-4
Mhm.
alongside their favorite booking tool like Cvent. And these
Yeah.
things are going to go head to head. And eventually it's going to start looking in Cvent and it's going to pull that data, and it's just going to create a corpus of data that's going to be very, 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 very challenging. And
Mhm.
so I think in the short term, it's just going to give people superpowers and it's going to make them more efficient. And
Mhm.
I think that you should absolutely go on bard.google.com and you should
Mhm.
sign up for an account and spend an hour playing with it every day, because
Yeah.
the things that it can do is wild. My wife is an attorney and she dropped in a contract, and she's like, read this contract and tell me all of the terms that are non-standard or things that I can negotiate on. This contract would have taken her
Mhm.
maybe 10 minutes to read. It did her job in 4 seconds.
Oh my goodness. And how
And
much money with that?
yeah. And she's an attorney, right? So she would have billed, she would have got to bill 12 minutes for this job.
Mhm.
And, say she bills $300 an hour,
Yeah.
that task now was done for pennies that would have cost maybe $40 in the past.
Yeah.
So it's going to just make like analyzing data and number crunching very, very fast. Now, there's a lot of stuff that it comes short on. Like it doesn't do a good job of like multimedia, and so much of travel is visual. So I don't think that the interface is actually great for travel. And like Airbnb famously tried to integrate with Chat GPT-4, and then they thought that this is not the way. The interface, the experience was not it for travel. So I think that there's going to be interface innovation.
Yep.
But it's a powerful tool. I'm wondering, like, have you used these tools, and what do you think about it?
I think it's amazing. I've used OpenAI. You even see some of the, I guess, the AI represented in certain apps and platforms that I currently use. And I think it's absolutely amazing. I feel like just as you do need to put that human touch on it. Look at the information, make sure it's accurate, make sure that it is displayed in the way that you would like it, and it's in your own voice and things like that. I think that's really important, but it significantly cuts down on what I have to do. So I feel for event professionals, if they aren't using this tool, they definitely should use it. And see how you can apply it to different areas of your business, and do like Airbnb did, just see if it works, see if the interface works, see if it's where you want to go, and make those changes now so that you can be a little bit ahead, because it's only going to continue to change, right? So I think it's amazing space, but sometimes I feel like we put the cart before the horse when it comes to technology. I feel like we kind of throw it out there, everybody uses it, and then we try to put regulations and rules and everything on top of it after it's already gone. So that's another story, but I do feel like it's significantly cutting our time, and it's a good thing, but we also have to see how we can leverage it for us so that, let's say, humanity stays on top. So I see this changing jobs, but then it's like, where are the jobs going to be, right? Where can we find value in what we do, and where would that be? So I'll be interested to hear from you on that, because Chat GPT and these kind of AI tools can certainly take over certain areas, but we need to be looking towards where, I guess, humankind can stand firm and still provide value.
Yeah, I think it's going to be weird. And I think it's really hard to have a blanket answer to this question, because in the short term, people probably overreact of like, oh man, they like overestimate it. And in the long term, they probably underestimate it. So I would say that, me personally, I think that this is going to change the amount of input that people have to put into the system for the same amount of output. So a good example is last month, I think ChatGPT saved me maybe like 12 hours of work. So I became, let's call it 15% more productive. So that is a thing. My wife is an attorney, and I see this replacing paralegals. So I don't know if that's going to be a job in 5 or 10 years, a paralegal, because what do paralegals do? They do legal research. The AI is going to do that better. They do scheduling. Once the AI has like its own working memory and it can access your email and talk with you, it's going to schedule. So I think that there are going to be some jobs that just get wiped from the face of the earth. If you're a white collar knowledge worker and you don't have connection to the real world, and you move data from one place to the other, or you manage spreadsheets, it's frightening, to be honest. I would think about reskilling, to be candid. And then in the long run, it's so hard, because this is going to change and get better so fast. And these LLMs are going to build upon themselves, and they're going to make business owners more money and more profitable and more productive. And we don't have a great history of like sharing the profits, right? So it doesn't get distributed. The money and gains from productivity do not get distributed evenly or fairly. And so I think that if you're a professional right now, you should be using these tools. You should be trying to understand them, and that you should have an honest conversation with yourself of, what does my job look like in 5 years?